Okay, here it has already been a pretty long time since the last time I record my video and I got it being uploaded on YouTube, right? And this time I'm going to start something new since I used to be an Blender modder, but this time I just want to do something a little bit different since I am an also military holic who loves playing military games. And the previous models I made actually all has something related about the guns, rubber, and something like that. So you may just be curious about that. Since I used to be on the Blender motor, and why this time I changed my field to another level to game scripting and game programming, right? Yeah, it seems to be a little bit confused, but it doesn't matter since in my spare time I also want to play Arma3, and I think the relationship between them is maybe the next time to Arma4 started, the infusion engine is available. I can have a combination about my current experience in Blender with Arma4 that I can just directly drop my model into Arma4 as I wish. So this time I no longer talk about modding experiences in the next video, maybe I may get back to my original job. Yeah, just to share more experience about modding in Blender. Well, this time I want to just simply say something about my current experiences in scripting in Arma3 with the assistance from artificial intelligence, Deepseek. There are a lot of AI models that are available to be used
God damn it,
in the
Alpha
market,
1, where
for
are you?
example, okay, so the first thing I want to say that with the assistance from Deepseek, it really helps us create a lot and save a lot of time scripting. For example, that if you want to make such kind of single functions that you can just write for the list 4 to 5 functions half day, if it is not very complex compared with before that you can only just write about 2 functions maybe for whole morning, that it is really not pretty efficient because accumulated with the time you're testing the function and debugging, that if it is complex it's really not efficient. But what do you only need to do that in Deepseek? You just paste all the code and just correct it down. That is very simple, easy, especially if you want to start a new function from zero to start that, which means that you no longer need to write lines on your own, and you do not need to any kind of notepad about the grammar, syntax to highlight which area that you commit a mistake, or if there will be any grammar or structure mistakes that you do not need to worry about anymore. So this is the point that I think that using Deepseek in programming in Arma3 really save a lot of time in write script. And there's also a very clear logic. For example, that you can see I have created a lot of functions by using Deepseek to make a current massive machine, which will be pretty functional. And here's an example that if I just try to switch a much more complicated syntax, that it will just also write commands about in which certain field, in which certain lines means it about it, to get all the non-player units and separate the friendly and the enemy, select the target and find the nearest enemy, etc. That actually there will be no problem on its logic. So you do not need to worry about that and do not need to think too much on that anymore. And for generally speaking, when you're just going to use Deepseek, as you can see that But you just need to use the Deepseek from the official website, and you're not using another website with not the non-functional Deepseek as the API, which is not very useful at all. So although there will be some website jammers, and it cannot respond instantly on Deepseek, but it doesn't matter since just due to the internet attack when it's just being solved, that I think was just very powerful to against some charged AI tools like GPT or cloud or something like that, right? And I do not think that its coding function will be very bad, and actually it just do quite well, right? You can see that there will be pretty a lot of one that I just request the Deepseek to write them for me, and if there will be any problems, there will only be about at least 3 terms of the following ask Deepseek to correct those problems. It will just be okay. So now let's just talk about the corners that you just need to worry about and be extremely careful about if there will be any some bugs being found and how to fix them. The first thing is that the Deepseek really cannot do quite well in a very big framework on scripted missions. For example, that it is impossible for you to tell Deepseek to write a dynamic battlefield with a lot of artificial intelligence and do not have the jammers on multiplayer game mode. Also a lot of special effects and firing traces around players to generate a very intensive and amazing atmosphere. So such kind of request is really not possible. It's impossible. It is impossible for Deepseek to generate such kind of scripted mission like that, and because they are too massive. Just like you ask Deepseek to write a whole new operation systems, it is impossible with a single sentence like that because they are not detailed requests that you ask it to do, how to start it, right? So I think this should be the common knowledge for you to use every AI tools. And the second one is it will always missing defined variables. Just for example, I got such kind of script. This just allow infinite AI generated on the battlefield to fight against each other, while at the same time the battlefield was just being generated around the player, and it looks to be very interesting, right? So such kind of systems need a lot of input sockets and input parameters, like for example like the main logic. And one of the issues that Deepseek may commit is it will just missing some of the variables if there will be new functions being called or spawned in halfway of the whole script. So which means that you just need to check it on your debug console and locate it, and then try to fill it manually. If there will be some, for example, like marker prefix or group markers be missing, you just need to add it from above into the parameters so that it will just call later, you know. So one of the ways that you just need to check about your mistakes is without using the syntax. I think the better way just directly go to the tools and you can just choose debug console. As you can see, you can just find it on the Steam and try to install that as the add-on to your Arma3, and you can find that you paste your code inside it, and there will be no problem. There will be an find such kind of things inside it, right? Otherwise, it will just be okay. It will just be green one. If there will be any problems, there will be a red arrow, and then you just directly locate where the arrow is, and it just paste the code again into Deepseek and ask what's going on in there. And I think the third one is only for intermediate difficulty, for example. And if you want to make too much or too complex one, it is really not recommended. For example, like sound models has already been embedded inside BIS functions, as we can see, like the function varies. For example, if you want a lot of smoke effect, particle effect, or some trees effect, firing bullets around players inside the sky on the battlefield, which means that it is impossible for Deepseek to do it because it do not have a clear idea how to create it. I just tried several ways before that. Deepseek will just create a dummy bullet flying in the sky or by using particle systems, but the problem is the particle systems do not have any flashlight in the night, which means it can also not able to generate real tracer phenomenon. While if you just simply just tell the Gypsy to generate a bullet, it also do not have the tracer effect because it just lack of it missing a gunner who fire the bullet to activate the tracer visual effect. So whatever how many times you ask Deepseek, it still cannot make it. And there are also a lot of functions by official that it is really great to use, right? For if you want to make something difficult or complex one, it is really not recommended. Just like, for example, what I have done it before by using the tracers and just calling it to do, but it will just take a pretty long time for it to do it. It will just simply create a tracer like that and attaching the light on that, but it just cannot get anything down. The visual effect is still cannot meet my demands. Even though I just asked it to fix it several times later, it is still not able to do it as well. So not until time I just start trying to fix it and write it manually. It is very tedious and wasted quite a lot of time from my reference from the BIS function manual. And the fifth one is insisted on so custom lack of the visual function library. Yeah, just like the old problems I have said that since the data traced back and the training transform the training resources by Deepseek is ended at 2023, there's still lack of necessary and the study of the art technologies in functions. So, which means that it is not friendly for newbie. You still need some manual corrections for some complex one. And particularly in JavaScript cropped, always it works like that. If you want to make a GUI, for example, like this one, right? It is impossible. The Deepseek do not have a very clear visual effect on the GUI design inside the game, so it still need quite a long time for it to be updated. Maybe it will just works better in Deepseek hard to etc. I think, since sequence function on Arma3 is not a public programming code and just not well known by most people. It is really, how to say, it is not so widely used. A lack of necessary resources to train Deepseek to understand SQF language, and most of the references are and experiences are from C++. So there will still be some mistakes, and also there will be some problems cannot be fixed on. So we still have to do it manually. The next one is the particle energy scripting cropped. Yeah, it is really not very great. As you can see that the emitters, it is pretty hard to be done, right? Just we can see you still have to with help from some professional tools to create particle effect, and Deepseek cannot understand the visual effect how it was being presented inside the game. what I had to say. You still have to do it. Yeah, you still have to do it manually, right? And then let's move to the next part, is the complex calculation error. Just for example, if you want if you want a mission dynamically being generated inside the home mission and avoid the mission being generated on the water or on a hill or on the mountain, and then you also want to, for example, if it has already selected a candidate position, you want some buildings selected randomly from the mission config file or the game config file and calculate their bounding box rotation to avoid them intersect with each other. It's also gonna be a challenge for Deepseek, since it will just calculate a lot of surface numbers, vector differences, and the distance also do not jeopardize or intersect with each other. Also, there will be some line intersect command being used in a find safe pose to calculate whether there will be no trees or rocks or houses around to being stayed together. So sometimes in such kind of complex situation or calculation, Deepseek can do not handle it quite well. You also need to be careful about it. Yeah, the last one I think is just function parameters errors. Like if we can find the official website BIWiki, that there will be a lot of commands. For example, I calculated there will be no less than 2000, and there also will be some functions. For example, BIS func find safe pose. Just for an example, that as you can see, there will be a lot of parameters being imported inside it, like the mean distance, max distance, center, object pose, land, water, anywhere, shoreline, mass grad, etc. For example, there will be at least, I think, 1 to 10, at least 10 parameters are just needed to it. So Deepseek may just commit mistakes and do not understand which number really mean. Same as set particle parameters involves a lot of parameters inside, will also commit mistakes. So this one also need to be attention to. So as for the last one, the advice that if you are just a newbie and also want to make a heavy script related interesting game on Arma3, you also need to learn some basics. What I recommend is to find the paid homepage on Killzone Kit. It is really very nice. Or for example, like Killzone's blog Arma3. It will just teach us
all call signs. Be advised, we have successfully taken a sector from the enemy.
Knowledge about Arma3, right? Not into knowledge, basic knowledge, but just being able to got it down. Very nice. And the second one is just a technical knowledge. The Deepseek is broken. Just what like what I already mentioned before, as the function here. There will be a lot of nice functions, even though you do not know about it.
Your cargo is reporting negative on your LP.
Or there will be a lot of precondition you need to do until you can just make it, but you can just run code to Deepseek and data analysis and try to through you nicer solution by referencing its code written by the code written by the professor. That's the code developers. Okay. So at the last, I just want to show you my currently developed missions. That there will be a lot of a lot of amazing steps. For example, like the dynamic battlefield where you can find players and teammates of them everywhere on the map. Mission places
November 1, this is 2. What's your problem? Maintain formation. Repeat, maintain
a
formation.
lot of battlefield special effects around player, for example, like firing, bombardment, artillery support, the jobs. They were just being combined together and being run automatically. That to make the mission looks to be much more interesting. There will be analysts, AIs being fighting on the battlefield, and also to not worry about hundreds of AI fighting will make the system load and automatically increase the FPS rate. Right? I have this on AI loads and optimize it. So not until the time I got my mission being released, I hope you can support it and like it. Okay, as for the next step, I'm going to record my tutorial about those
The enemy is pushing us back. They cannot break through our lines.
really military bound who are interested in scripting and modding. I think there should just be
Folks, this is